Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and just a couple days ago was Magicfest New Jersey, aka GP New Jersey, aka whatever they're calling it now. Which, actually, on that topic, it seems like what they're calling it now was an absolute disaster. I mean, it was so bad, it was actually starting to sound like Fire Festival. And that was the worst planned event in all of human history. Like, some of the things people were saying, I was legit like, well, that sounds familiar. But unfortunately, it wasn't rich douchebag, wannabe, influencer, millennial dumbasses stuck on an island. It was people I actually care about, Magic players. So to summarize the complaints about what went wrong with this event, the number one problem was too many people, not enough space. Everything was sold out, and a bunch of the side events didn't fire or did fire and sold out too quickly. And so what branched from that was people showing up from, plane travel distances. You could even call them planeswalkers anyway. And getting to play in a grand total of 0 events. And then the entire venue was too hot. The bathrooms were a disaster. It was completely understaffed, which that kind of is a separate issue, because if you're like, hey, we sold this to max capacity, the venue's response would be, okay, cool. We'll send an appropriate amount of staff to handle the maximum number of people that we can fit in the building. Which, I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure they hit, the fire code limit, but they did hit the most people they could comfortably seat at the actual tournaments and events limit, which is probably not that far away from the actual fire code limit. But either way, it's clear that no matter what number you use, they did not send enough staff to handle this event. They just didn't. Also, it was so unbelievably hot inside the venue because of the number of people, and so everybody smelled, but then on top of that, the otherwise especially smelly people who have no concept of human hygiene for some reason, seriously, what is wrong with you? Seriously, you're playing the wrong game, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh thing. They were smelling amazing levels of bad. So everybody got promoted one level of smelling bad. So a lot of people are blaming Wizards of the Coast for some reason, which, I mean, that's a little indirect, but it's not like they couldn't do anything about this. So I kind of get that, but it's kind of misdirected. A lot of people are super mad at Channel Fireball, the event runners. And now that Star City Games does not hold Grand Prix, which I guess are now called Magic Fest, they have no competition, which is kind of ironic because Star City Games just runs similar tournaments with a different name that aren't official Magic Fests, I guess. Or it's something like that. I don't know. You guys know I don't really follow the pro scene that much. So no, they can be as crap as they want, and people won't just say, well, I'm not going to the Channel Fireball Magic Fest, I'm going to the Star City Games one because they do it better. So, is that complaint valid? Well, I mean, prices of tickets are going up, quality is going down, prizes are going down, people are pissed. So yeah, it is partially Channel Fireball's fault, but in their defense, they are losing money on these, or bare minimum, not making money, according to, I guess, their own statements if you want to take them at face value. So if you gotta up ticket prices and you gotta lower prizes and do other stuff just to make it so you don't go bankrupt, I mean, you don't want to get down to nobody running these. So I kind of get that, but how were they profitable before? So some people don't believe them. They just think they're being greedy and they're trying to make as much money as possible by running these as cheaply as possible and raking in as much, pure profit as possible from these events because singles and sealed products have been selling like crap lately. And that's because of Wizards' bullshit distribution models. Oh, and Wizards directly competing with them on Amazon now. So there's that. And the cancellation of the best-selling product of all time that is very needed, the Masters products. That was definitely the dumbest decision of the last 5 years as far as product decisions go. I mean, we've got $100 fetch lands again. We kind of need those to be reprinted in something, and I don't mean standard. So, I mean, a lot of people tossing the blame around and sharing little bits of evidence. If you put the puzzle together, you end up with 2 somewhat reasonable reasons that this event went so poorly. Unfortunately, I wish I could just be like, no, it's all their fault. Actually, in reality, pin it all on them. Go blow up their social media. They need to fix it. There is no they. It's just circumstances. So at the end of the day, what went wrong? How do you fix it? Everybody agrees, not a big enough venue. The venue isn't big enough because not enough money is coming in. And the real problem with that is, if you want a venue that can hold 10,000 people, or you want a venue that can hold 15,000 people, you would think, oh, well, the bigger one costs 50% more. No, it don't scale like that. I have extensive personal knowledge of giant event planning because of some people I've worked with in the past. And I mean, we've rented like 70,000 person venues. Like, I know how this works. I know how the insurance works. I know how the staffing works. I have lived in event management. Just take my word for it. If you want a really, really big venue, it is going to cost you a truly insane amount of money, because it just comes down to, well, where else are you going to go? Like, you know, there's maybe 50 venues you can rent that can hold, 5,000 people or whatever. I'm just throwing random numbers out here, whatever. So, those venues have to actually compete. They have to keep things very trimmed down, low, and affordable. Otherwise, you could go anywhere else. If you take a medium to large size city and say, oh, actually, we need like 20,000 people to fit here. It comes down to, in some cases, like, oh, you got a choice of like 5 places. Sometimes even like 2 places, sometimes 1 place. Like, look at the Vegas Convention Center. Like, that place is huge. There's very few places in America that could fit that many people. So they can almost charge whatever they want because, one, they could just hold 2 or 3 events and section it off. They could hold smaller events and charge a little bit less and still make money. Or, 2, it's like, where else are you going to go? Like, this is how many people fit here. There is nowhere else to go, especially with like the hotel infrastructure, taxis, that kind of stuff. So even though you've got, we'll say, 50%, 200%, whatever, more people coming, it costs more to rent that big of a place per person, per head. So you have to charge more per head. Now, this is not normally a problem because it solves itself. You always, when you have a recurring event that goes on year after year or even month after month, you look at the past attendance and say, did it go up or did it go down? And if it went up, you up the ticket price to help pay for the venue because you need a venue that big. In fact, you'll probably need one even bigger or whatever. You are justified in getting a 25,000 person venue because it went from 19 to 21,000 between the years, for example. Now, if you're like, okay, it just went from 23 to 24, we were basically at the max we could reasonably fit, you up the price even more to either go to a bigger venue or to drive people away and make it be lower. 23,000 people paying $5 more a head compared to 24,000 people is more money. So honestly, the problem kind of solves itself. You will, if you do it right and do it well enough and do it recurring enough, land where your event is supposed to be. So if you suddenly skyrocket the price because you need to go to a bigger venue and all of a sudden half the people show up, you take a big ass loss or break even or whatever, and then you go back down to a smaller venue and charge slightly less, but not as low as it was before you moved to the bigger venue. So basically the event will dial itself in. People are willing to pay, whatever. And if they're not, you go smaller. And if they are, you go more expensive / bigger if you need to until you get the right amount where you make a profit or you cancel the event permanently. So hopefully that whole system, the math behind it, the logic makes sense to you. I mean, for me, it's just another day. So all you can do is bring in cooler stuff where people feel like they're getting a better value out of their ticket, or just spike the event on purpose, basically, and just raise the price so that literally less people show up. So like I said, you either justify the ticket price so that people are like, oh, well, actually, I mean, this is there. Now they're adding music. They're adding another day, whatever. Okay, cool. Now it's worth $30 a ticket. Or you just raise the price because you know that you're overbooked and it is what it is. Supply and demand, whatever. Well, as I mentioned, everybody notices that Channel Fireball is like doing the opposite. They're making it a crappier event. They're giving away crappier prizes. They're bringing in less artists to sign stuff. I mean, they're trying to bring in more vendors because those vendors pay like $5,000 a booth, I heard, or even more. But I mean, whatever. I mean, do you really need more vendors? As long as you can unload your cards somewhere, buy singles somewhere, it doesn't really matter how many vendors there are. The vendor thing isn't the big pull, not really. But if you have a bunch of, Magic esports celebs show up and they're signing stuff, or you get, a bunch of YouTube or, social media people who are big in the Magic scene, get them to show up. People are like, okay, I don't care if it's $50 instead of $40. Like, I'm going to this. Like, it's $10, whatever. But they are clearly doing the opposite. But that's because, as they have stated, it is really expensive to pay for artists to come show up. And Channel Fireball admitted last year that it's not profitable to ship in the amount of artists that they are. Like, yeah, it sucks. No disrespect to the artists, but they just can't afford to do it because they're losing money. So when the artists were like, this is crap, you're not even like paying for my hotel, like I'm on my own for that and for travel, and yet I'm a draw and I'm selling tickets, their response was, sorry, we just don't have the money. We're like borderline losing money on these events. So they're trimming them down. while simultaneously raising ticket prices. That's why it's like, does everybody believe them? No, it doesn't seem to make sense. I haven't heard a compelling reason for them to be losing money when, like I said, attendance is down slightly, but the ticket prices are through the roof and they're giving away less prizes for the events while also bringing in less people. I don't see the math there. So according to Channel Fireball, it is what it is, and they're losing money and whatever, and according to everybody else, that's not true. So, pick who you want to believe. But there seems to be a deeper problem that a Channel Fireball higher up had stated, allegedly. When asked, are you planning on using this space again next year? Because it's been problematic for 2+ years. Like, seriously, it was a very similar scene last year. They said their contract with Wizards is up this year. And they have to renegotiate for next year and beyond. That was a response. I thought, well, that's interesting. What does that have to do with the question? Oh, I think Wizards dictates where they go, what city they go to, and like what space they rent. Okay, wait a minute. Instead of picking the proper venue, Wizards is like contractually obligating them to hold a tournament in New Jersey, I guess. There's the problem, because there's something I didn't mention before. You do have a third option between, oh crap, let's up the prices and go to a bigger venue, or let's lower the prices but not too much and go to a smaller venue and drive people away with middle prices. Or I guess the third option was, or just make the event more attractive to merit the price increase. Or 4, hold it in a cheaper city. And I mean, New Jersey is like just outside of New York, and it's not the cheapest place ever. It's not the most expensive. It's not the cheapest place to hold an event. It's not the cheapest place to fly to. That's why it really pissed me off that in the past they were doing Grand Prix Hawaii. Hawaii is insanely expensive to fly to. The hotels are absurd because it's constantly a vacation destination all year round. And I don't know if you check, but the islands aren't that big. There is not that much real estate to go around. So it's kind of like a similar problem as like New York City, where the population density and stuff is just so crazy. Yeah, they got the airports and stuff, but like traffic is crap. Hotel prices are crap because real estate prices are insane. And it's a bad place to hold basically anything. It's a bad place to set up a business in 2020. It's just like Silicon Valley or any of the major cities in California. You have to be crazy to run a business there. It's like, oh, but that's where all the contacts are. Cool. Well, it's like $100,000 a year to rent a damn apartment. Not to mention like the commercial property taxes and stuff. Oh, and the traffic and the food price. It's just, don't go there. Do not go to those shit cities. They're overpriced. Do not hold an event there. Don't live there. Don't travel there. Don't visit there. Don't set anything up there. Just those cities are off limits. I would put New Jersey higher on that list than you might think. There's a reason that they constantly hold Grand Prix or whatever the hell it's called now, Milwaukee. It's because Milwaukee is an amazing place to hold an event. It is so vastly superior to anywhere you could possibly go in Chicago. Now, it doesn't help that the entire state of Illinois, let alone just Chicago, is run by corrupt politicians and assholes, and it's just a liberal welfare state shithole where the sales tax is like 9% or something and they're still in debt. It's basically just a failed socialist experiment, just like California. That doesn't help, but on top of it, it's just population density, prices, real estate, everything. It's the whole package. Just don't hold an event in Chicago. Everybody knows this. It's too expensive to go there, rent anything, and get a hotel and fly there. It just is. That's what it is. Now you hold something in Milwaukee, in the vastly superior state of Wisconsin, despite our current governor. They've got enough hotels. They've got giant places to meet. And in fact, I'd probably say the same thing about Green Bay. There's maybe a couple venues in Madison that are pretty impressive, I think. But yeah, Milwaukee is pretty cheap. So if you're just running like a Magic event, not like CES where just who cares? If you're showing up, you're an industry person, you don't care if it's $500 a ticket, you drop $1,000 on hotels. Like you're there for business. Or Wisconsin has this big air show thing, and I heard those tickets are truly absurd. But it's a bunch of rich old retired guys who are ex-pilots and they don't care. This is like the only super huge air thing that goes on in all of America, basically. So it's like people are either showing up or they're not. They're all rich. I mean, pilot, if you got a plane, you got money. You know what I mean? If you're going to basically hold a rich people convention, throw it wherever the hell you want. Ironic that it's in Wisconsin, but I heard that the ticket prices, they just charge it because they can. Not because the venue is very expensive, which actually I don't know what venue that's at, come to think of it. I remember it involved camping. I think they just own the property. I don't know. Maybe it was at a convention center. Well, that's a lucrative event. But yeah, if it's just Magic players, it's just everyday people with everyday jobs. Like, I mean, you can't just say, oh, all Magic players are rich. Oh, they clearly have money. Like, you can play this game for like $20. You can play for free online. If just some random dude with some random job, like from some random, economic level says, I want to go to a Magic Fest because it looks cool, you damn well better hold it in the cheapest city you can possibly go to, but also that has the infrastructure. Like, last time I checked, the cheapest real estate in the entire US is Nevada and South Dakota. I mean, like 15, 20 years ago in South Dakota, I heard you could build or buy like a 2,000 square foot ranch house for like $100,000. Oh, actually, I think by Nevada, I meant Arizona. It's one of the two. It's like both. I don't remember. Arizona had this whole housing boom thing until they realized, oops, nobody wants to live here. And also banks are giving out predatory loans, and that was a whole thing. But I don't think you could just say, let's hold Magic Fest South Dakota because, no offense, I'm too lazy to check this out, but I would just assume this isn't true. I don't think there's like a big enough spot in South Dakota where it's like, okay, big airport, a ton of hotels, lots of transportation infrastructure, taxis, Uber, whatever, plus literally a building big enough to hold an event like that. I mean, there might be. And my point is then, yeah, they should move it there. But you can't just be like, this place is super cheap and then find out, oh crap, like for a 25-mile radius, the total hotel capacity is 2,000 people. That ain't gonna fly. Like, if you literally cannot get a hotel within like a certain amount of miles, you're just not gonna go to the event unless you can sleep in your car or something. It's that simple. So you need infrastructure, you need a big enough venue, you need a venue who knows what the hell they're doing, you need a way to get there, you need enough food. I mean, it basically just has to be a big enough city, but not too big. If it's a rich place, if it's a touristy place, if it's, a place where people have a ridiculous population density, it ain't gonna work. So you gotta hit that middle ground. And I would say with all the locations of the Magic Fest, I mean, they haven't gone crazy with it, but there are probably some cheaper places they could go to. And I think New Jersey is going to be the number one that they try to move. Now, the motivation behind this, allegedly, according to what I've heard from Wizard staff, is they want to move it around as much as possible, the location, so that you have the like cheapest or easiest travel to at least one event per year. And this is on a worldwide scale, too, by the way. So, I mean, they can't just hold all the events on the East Coast and then just be like, well, Midwest and like West people will screw you. You get to get on a longer, more expensive plane flight and be like further away from home, an even more different time zone, and just all the discomfort that comes with traveling really, really far. And plus, planes are expensive and the TSA is the worst thing ever. So some people are like, I don't care if it's like 4 or 5 hours, I'm going to drive, So if it's like one state away or something, 2 states away, you could reasonably probably drive and save a lot of money. Oh, and, cram like 4 or 5 people in a car, from your LGS that you know personally and play with locally. Like, that's just how Magic works. Most people don't fly to these events. I mean, y'all pile into a car, you split gas, you stop at White Castle, and you make a weekend of it, okay? That's how Magic Fest goes. And by the way, there is like one White Castle in Wisconsin that I know of, and if we're getting within 20 miles of it, your ass better get on that exit. I'm just saying. So if Wizards and all their infinite wisdom and all their like, we just want to enable people to show up, yay, surface level logic, it's up to Channel Fireball to actually plan the event and make it work and make it profitable, we're just dictating to them where to hold it. That doesn't work, and I have a feeling that's what doesn't work about all of this. So that kind of hinty little passive-aggressive statement made by Channel Fireball employees, apparently, about like, hey, are you going to hold it here again for the 3rd year and have it be a total shit show for the 3rd time in a row at least? They're just like, well, we got to renegotiate with Wizards. They're kind of saying without saying, Wizards is the ones making us rent this place or hold one in this overpriced city. Or the other major factor that I want to mention besides location is... Wizards, what was this you kept saying about all this money you set aside to promote esports and promote celebs and have these special invite-only tournaments where you invite like 16 people, give away like $3 million or whatever? I've got an idea. If that's all basically written off as a marketing expense for the game and to show off and to promote esports and to, promote people watching the stream, and obviously some of the money clearly went to view botting the stream. But it's all just like, it's all invested. It's all marketing. It's not just, oh, we're spending money because yay fans and big event, woohoo. They fully expect that like $10 million a year they're dropping on just prize money to come back to them in, oh, we're making it bigger, better, more, we're attracting more people, esport, yay. Oh, look, we gained 1 million new customers. Half for paper, half on arena, whatever. Oh, that made X amount of money. Cool. That's our ROI, our return on investment. They clearly see it that way from the statements they've made. So I have an idea. Out of that like 10 mil per year or whatever I think the number was, it might have been 20 mil. It was some absurd amount that they're just like dumping into prize money just for like shock value and like notoriety so that they can brag about it and be like, we're giving away $250,000 to the top person. And people are like, whoa, that sounds like Dota levels of crap. Like that is no joke. Like in the esports thing, big prizes get eyes. I mean, that's a thing. But why don't you maybe lower it to like 9 million and then give Channel Fireball $1 million to rent a better venue for like all of their events. You know, so that the narrative about competitive level Magic isn't, wow, what an absolute shit show. I had to go stand in line outside in January to use a porta potty outside because they overbooked the venue and the bathroom lines were 100 people long. Not to mention being a giant biohazard. It was an understaffed, sweaty shithole, and everybody who went there had a miserable time. I literally couldn't even participate in the tournaments. Everything was oversold. It was crowded, loud, and from what I heard, somebody actually had some kind of medical problem because of like heat exhaustion. And it was like one of the vendors running a booth. Everything I just said right there, by the way, wasn't like my accounts. It was like basically direct quotes from multiple people. So if that's what people are saying about competitive Magic and their wonderful events, that's what you call negative PR. That is a negative brand image. So if people are like, whoa, they're giving away $250,000. Whoa, what a mishandled, misrun pile of garbage that I'm not going to get interested in any way. Holy crap, I don't want anything to do with this. Those kind of offset. So maybe take some of the prize money and some of your marketing budget and literally just hand it to Channel Fireball to make the events not shit. What a concept. I mean, making the event not be a disaster. Just not even like, oh, make it amazing. Like, oh, let's hire like Elton John to come sing at it. Oh my God. No idea why that was the first one I thought about. I think he's dead actually. Oh, we're going to have a live petting zoo, a freaking monster truck rally in the parking lot, and a paintball tournament. Woo! I mean, feel free to spend money on that for prestige, but I would just shoot for just bare minimum. The event isn't a disaster. Shoot for that 7 out of 10. You don't have to go for 11 out of 10. Just not 1 out of 10. You just need to stop all the negative reviews of these garbage Magic Fest. That this bare minimum, I would start there. Because right now, for everybody saying, ooh, wow, respectable esport, yay, there's like 50 people online saying, holy crap, these tournaments are misrun. Not to mention the rampant cheating and everything else wrong with competitive Magic right now. They need to fix more than just the venue. But yeah, I have a strong feeling with the statement made by Channel Fireball, allegedly, that they are going to say, we are the only people left running these tournaments. Give us $250,000 to like $2 million to fix the events and hold them at bigger, better places that are actually comfortable, or we are not going to hold them. Like they're like losing company reputation over this because they're the ones running it. And like I said, a lot of people are blaming Channel Fireball. They're throwing them under the bus while they already know that the tournaments aren't, profitable. And, well, what would happen if the tournament system collapses? Well, then Wizards' whole esports thing doesn't exist, and they spent all the money for nothing. So Wizards needs to spend money on these Magic Fest not sucking. It's that simple. And I think Channel Fireball is either going to get money from Wizards to rent better venues, have better staff, and run a better tournament, or they are just going to refuse to run them, and they're just going to sell singles and products and whatever. Which, I mean, remember, Wizards of the Coast is a bunch of sensitive snowflake toddlers who throw a little tantrum every time they get insulted or get mad. So if they say, fine, we're not running your event, screw you, you're on your own, they're going to say, okay, cool, we're calling all our distributors and we're not sending you any more Magic products, so your company's over. And that is, I can virtually guarantee you exactly what they would do. So the negotiations are probably going to get really ugly, but if Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast management is willing to be like, okay, instead of like 50 grand for a prize, we're going to like up it by 20 times per event, they have been approved to expend some funds to make this a big thing and make it successful. So I think that for next year, they're going to do it big. They're going to actually put some money and effort into these. It just can't go any other way. There's no logical reason to keep these run under budget, underfunded, and like complete shit. There's just no excuse for that. Unless Wizards is going to shoot back with, no, actually you don't need, more money. It's just mismanagement on your part. Fix this, and this. These are all free. Which, I mean, come on, how long has Channel Fireball been running events? I would have a hard time believing that is the sole problem. I think the majority of the problem is money. I mean, look at what they've done. Everybody's whining that the prize wall is a joke, which you get like tickets for winning side events and then you can redeem them like it's Chuck E. Cheese for like cool prizes and like all the stuff people want goes super quick. And then there's like a black market where people are like scalping tickets. It turns into a whole thing. And then the entry price has gone way up and you no longer get like free playmat sleeves, any of that. It's just like, oh yeah, entry, cool, main event, go. So obviously they're trying to save money. They're not like, oh, let's see how badly we can scalp these Magic players, because I do believe there were statements made directly by Channel Fireball upper management saying these aren't profitable and something needs to change. I could have sworn I saw something like that. And it was very shortly after like Star City Games just said, we're out. Screw it. There's no money in this. Have fun. We're going to do things our way. Bye-bye. Now, I will say, in reading all of the posts on Reddit that were like really good summaries and all the comments and stuff about what went wrong, some of it was just really, really poor planning, but it was like kind of like poor planning that resulted from too many people being there. It was like, oh, tables weren't set up for this and tables were misallocated. Well, that's because they were trying to like run an event and this and that, and this was out of that, and this was out of space and whatever. So like, yeah, they could have just been like, let's reallocate these to there and move these here on the fly. Okay, cool. But really the problem is there was too damn many people there. They sold too many tickets. And I don't think improving the event would involve selling less tickets. And I don't think people are going to respond well to them just upping the entry price again. And when you look at other stuff like, hey, there was a 2-hour line for a draft at the event. And then I'd heard some of the people in line didn't even get into it because they ran out of seats. They sold out, so they waited in line for nothing. Do you really think instead of having like one line, they had 4 lines? If that would have cleared it up? No, they still would have sold out. So it's like at the end of the day, yeah, they could have done things technically better. But I mean, more staff running more things quicker costs money. And if you run out of tables, you run out of tables because the venue's not big enough. So a lot of this, it looks like it might be their fault. It looks like mismanagement on their part, but really it all goes back to the same couple causes. So it's clear that Wizards just needs to step in and say, okay, these are not making enough money. We need to subsidize these events. That's what it comes down to. The tickets are too expensive, and if they go up any higher, nobody's going to show up, and that would be a really big disaster. But as it sits, too many people are showing up. We need a bigger venue. And would it be nice to brag about, oh, look, 10,000 people showed up to this one. That's record numbers. You know, make that a press release. Like, biggest Magic Fest ever. Oh, Magic Esports is blowing up. Competitive Magic is huge now. Whoa, you know, prestige. Woo. Oh, look where we're holding it. This giant-ass venue. You could literally just spend money and buy those headlines. Like, you could just make it happen. Like, just buy a better venue. Give Channel Fireball money. So, yeah, if something doesn't change, a lot of judges are threatening to just not show up. It's just not worth their time, and they're having a miserable time as well, and they're getting blamed for stuff that ain't their fault, that they have no control over. Vendors are saying, okay, we're not the piggy bank. Yeah, we're hauling in, you know, mountains of money at the events, but even we have our limits here. You know, we can buy stuff online all we want. We don't have to do it in person, just saying. So if the booth rental goes from like 4,000 to 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, which it has been, it's been skyrocketing, according to the vendors' reports. At a certain point, they're just going to be like, well, screw it then. Like, with how hot it is and noisy and loud and the hotel and the crap hours and all this, you know what, we'll just stay home. It's not worth, you know, if you start taking the profits from like 40 grand to 30 grand, at a certain point, it's just not worth it. So judges, vendors, and players are all threatening to stop showing up if this event doesn't improve. So in other words, everybody. Although I will say, as far as the like high-level pro players who pretty much have to go there because it's now their job because they need the prize money because they play Magic professionally, usually full-time, even they're threatening, and not even threatening, they are not showing up because it's such a disorganized mess. And that is 100% Channel Fireball's fault, as far as I know. So I will throw them under the bus on that one. Although, some people are saying it's Wizards of the Coast, but it's like they're not the ones running it. So pros are saying, I'm not even being told until I get to the city the day before when and where to show up to register my deck for the event that I qualified for. Like, what the hell? I don't even know what day to leave or to show up. Oh, Wizards said they'd pay for my travel. It's a week out and I don't have travel information. You know, stuff like that, where actually some of that is Wizards' fault, but these tournaments, logistically, from what I heard, are a disaster. They are so mismanaged and so misrun, and the rounds are confusing, and just where and when you sign up for stuff and how it works and that all that stuff, and like how the ladders work, and people just getting confused, and pros showing up to the wrong place, the wrong room, you know, like that you can't throw money at that. That is purely, unless you're going to hire more staff, just staff not doing their jobs and people at the highest level organizing this, not organizing it. It's really that simple. That they need to clean up because it's ridiculous. And I think that's why Wizards is now holding like super small invite only tournaments with like 64 people, 32 people, 16 people, whatever. I think they've done all those. I don't know. I don't pay that close of attention. And I think they just do that themselves. You could rent a really small venue if you're only inviting like 64 people and then you're just like handling all the streaming and coverage yourself, or like kind of working with Channel Fireball on it or whatever the hell they do. But I know they're putting up the prize money, so it kind of is their event at that point. And those are like, oh, those are fine. So it's almost like, well, when they dropped the whole like camera coverage and live streaming at all of these GP/Magic Fests and focused on just their own tournaments and pro tours, that was like the final, like, okay, we just don't care about these anymore. Like, do they even care if they just stop holding Magic Fests? Do they only care about the tournaments that they care about? I mean, I'm starting to wonder. Because I think it was 2 years ago, in literally New Jersey, I think this was the one where they were like, okay, tune into the live stream. Okay, where is everyone? And then Wizards told them like either during the event or like after it, oh yeah, we're not sending camera equipment and staff to stream it. Oh, and also PS, we didn't mail you any trophies because screw you, you're on your own for trophies. Like that literally happened. I'm not kidding. So Wizards very clearly appeared to have abandoned these events. So if they don't care if they hold them or not, then Channel Fireball is just not going to hold them. So that's the only thing keeping Wizards from just saying, okay, fine, we'll dump, a good fraction of $1 million into running these tournaments properly just so that we stop getting bad press and people can actually show up to them, actually play and have a good time. Or are they just going to be like, if it ain't one of our events and it ain't some 64 person, same people over and over again that people can identify because we like this, celeb, oh, they have followers, NFL, NBA bullshit. As far as we're concerned, your stupid events can just drop dead. We're going to run ours and we only care about ours. Well, that's not going to go well for 2021, is it? You can basically kiss Magic Fest goodbye at that point unless it's one of Wizards' official whoop-de-doo sanctioned ones that are very small and easy to run. But I mean, I think from what I heard, some of these little tiny tournaments were also like held in the middle of Magic Fest along with wide, like 1,000-person tournaments. So it was like both of them were at the same event. So, well, then what do you do? So the whole renaming, redoing how the structure works and how like 8 people can qualify on Arena and the rest are from like the Pro League, which is from the other tournaments that you do still need to hold, but like not the GPs, only the Pro Tours, but you don't call them that anymore. Now they all have the same name. Oh, but some give you points and some don't. And some points you can get on Magic Online, but some you can't. Oh, and as of 2020, they changed how that all works as well. And now you can do like a draft event and qualify for a constructed event, and it's like, wow. It is a giant confused mess, so for me to predict, oh, well, this type of event they prefer and this one they don't, by the time I get done saying it, they probably change it 5 more times just before I end the damn sentence. So I just wanted people to be aware that they did appear to be favoring certain type of events and others in the past, but then they've changed it and they like combined stuff, and it's a little more muddy than black and white, like, oh yeah, that's what they're doing, okay. So that is the state of it. That is what led up to Magicfest New Jersey being absolute shit for bare minimum the 2nd year in a row. Some people are saying the 3rd year in a row, or that it's basically gotten worse and worse and worse for 3 years in a row. And the only person that can step in and do something about it is really Wizards, unless Channel Fireball just wants to say, screw it, it's $100 a ticket and we're renting a bigger venue, whatever. Which, that's right, upping the price so less people can afford to show up while making the venue bigger and more expensive. Probably not a successful math problem there, as I stated earlier. But yeah, what happens with the negotiations and how it gets renewed and stuff for 2021 should be very interesting. Maybe Star City Games will jump back into it with some interesting demands about how the tournaments are run and how big and the scale and what the funding looks like. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is Wizards' game. It's their responsibility. It's their official pro league, and they need to clean it up. I really would put the vast majority of the problems not at Channel Fireball's responsibility or feat or ability to fix by themselves. It's a popularity/money/cost problem, and if they want to hold big fancy tournaments that they can brag about, Wizards is going to have to front the money to do it. It's really that simple. So, any other commentary about details about this? Any wonderful stories about Magicfest New Jersey if you were unfortunately at it? That would be welcome in the comment section. And the best way to close out this video is by my favorite quote I found while researching this heavily. Attendee number 1 at Magicfest New Jersey says, they pushed back and canceled a bunch of tournaments, right? Attendee number 2 says, yeah, I hear a bunch of players are playing at a burger joint across the street though. Literally came out to a Magicfest to play Magic, couldn't because everything, side events, main events, everything were sold out. And it's 100 degrees and the bathrooms are a disaster zone, so you like leave to go play at a restaurant, which you could have done back home without paying to travel to this garbage event. Sums it up nicely, doesn't it? That said, I ain't talking shit about playing in restaurants. Y'all know that me and my friends always play at the OD, man, the old dirty Chinese restaurant down the street. We actually were joking about holding a small tournament at the OD. But then everyone's like, why don't you just hold it at the bowling alley? I'm like, yeah, I probably should just hold it at the bowling alley. But the bowling alley doesn't have as good of Chinese food, or any at all, actually. You know what, screw it. Channel Fireball, hold your next tournament at the biggest Chinese restaurant that you can find in America. That is my official recommendation. So anyway, thanks for watching. Do not go to a Magic Fest, even if it ran perfectly and was an amazing experience. Everybody's cheating at them. Newsflash. So if you're playing honestly, you stand a 0% chance of winning. You stand a very far from 0 chance of getting your shit stolen while you're not looking. So unless you're gonna like handcuff a briefcase to your wrist, you're standing a pretty good chance of your cell phone, your bag, your like collectors, miners, everything getting stolen because people show up there just to steal people's shit. Even Magic staff and artists have had their stuff stolen. Irreplaceable objects have been stolen. Richard Garfield's cards have been stolen. I think Channel Fireball's camera equipment got stolen. And also, to top it all off, y'all know this one I really take issue with. Every Magic Fest I've ever heard of is a gun-free zone. And by that I mean legal carriers aren't allowed to bring it in. Literally nothing stops criminals. They don't have no metal detectors or any of that shit. And in a fun little additional fact, security is unarmed. So if somebody came in with a weapon and tried to do something bad, there is absolutely nothing to stop them. Although in Wisconsin, you would be able to sue the event planners and their insurance company into bankruptcy for disarming you and then not properly protecting you. Because that's how the laws work with concealed carry permits, at least in my state. I don't know, like statistically, you're probably more likely to get hit by a taxi exiting the event than you are to have some like shooting thing go on. I mean, on the flip side, yeah, somebody's been carrying a gun for 30 years. How many times they've had to pull it out? It's usually not 0. Somebody tried to rob me. They ran off as soon as they saw that I had a ranged weapon, and they did not. Let's put it that way. Somebody was threatening me in my own shop after I told them, I know this shit's stolen. Stop trying to sell it to me. Tried to come around the counter, like with their fist raised. I'm like, hi, look what I got. Fuck you. And did it without firing a shot. I've had somebody that ran a light, slammed on the brakes, and came about a foot from my car. Not like it when I flipped them off for doing so. Follow me and try to ram me off the road until they swerved off and floored it when I pulled a gun out the window and pointed it directly at them. So yeah, either I'm a crazy person, Magnet, or the world's a little more dangerous than you think. Just saying. And actually, come to think of it, I personally know some people who got killed in a mass shooting. You know what? Maybe they should make it mandatory that every single person in the venue be armed who can legally own and carry a gun. Do you think there'll be a mass shooter if literally 90% of the people are packing? In my opinion, that's like the worst thing about the event is the complete and utter lack of security and the idiots managing it, living in a dream world thinking that nothing bad would ever happen, and if it does, oh well, run. Oh well, that's what we have insurance for. Like, really, assholes? I mean, at least arm the security guards, come on. And by the way, I don't know that every event didn't have armed security. So yeah, in 2021, if Wizards and Channel Fireball are going to overhaul the events, maybe actually give a shit about security while you're at it. Just saying. You know, while you're also handling like bathrooms, proper staffing, food availability, ticket prices, transportation, and temperature. Oh, not having 100 decibel jackhammers working directly above the tournament would be nice too. Shout out to everybody who remembers that. Oh, and address the cheating problems. People actually have a base level of respect for this pro scene as a whole. You know, this one it actually kind of sounds beyond fixing. I wouldn't even care if they just canceled every single Magic Fest and just went to these small little, you know, Hollywood studio. We're going to live stream and invite 64 people, whatever. It's all on the web, you know, events or whatever. More money for people to spend at the local gaming store instead of spending to drive out to New Jersey and waste their time. I'm fine with whichever way you go with it. So yeah, if anybody's out here on the fence about going to one of these Magic Fests, unless they really fix it up, it is literally as bad or worse than what I am describing in this video. Ask anyone. So wish I had better news, but I don't know. Arena, you can really honestly play for free. Arena's hopping right now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.